So here in Australia, we have a neighbour country so big and powerful that it is amazing they are not already a global superpower. A country who on paper should be unstoppable. And that country is, of course, New Zealand. I jest. It's Indonesia, obviously. They have all the ingredients to be a superpower. So why aren't they already? Well, they were once a mighty maritime empire, but civil war, changing religious and social conditions, and the fact trying to keep 17,000 islands together as a single nation is the administrative equivalent of trying to herd cats. This meant the Indonesian archipelago was fertile ground for the arrival of European colonization, which would trap Indonesia in capitalist hell under the Dutch East India Company for about 300 years, before the Japanese Empire kicked the Dutch out, and then the Indonesian nationalists and communists rose up and kicked the Japanese and the Dutch out for good. In 1949, after the fall of the Dutch, the Republic of Indonesia had a complex political landscape, but was heavily leaning towards communism, inspired by the successes of China and Russia. But by 1965, the United States, still traumatized by having lost China to communism, decided Indonesia was overdue for some freedom. Washington and the CIA orchestrated a coup and overthrew the actually pretty moderate President Sukarno, with Suharto, a right-wing dictator. The US Embassy in Jakarta then gave Suharto a list of every known communist in Indonesia, just went and killed them all. The coup then opened up Indonesia to foreign investment, and all the US corporations flooded into Indonesia and freed the nation from all its natural resources, including its oil. This plan was so successful that it became a blueprint for the expansion of the US empire, called the Jakarta Method. And it would be used to destroy communism and impose colonial capitalism on dozens of countries, from Africa to Latin America, and is even being used right now in preparation for the overthrow of the Venezuelan government. You know, to free the Venezuelan people from all their oil. Anyway, 60 years later, Indonesia is still struggling to get back control of its natural resources and oil from US investment firms, and trying to pay off the eye-watering debt the US imposed on them for helping them out. And all of this without a communist in sight to resist. Meanwhile, communist China, in the same time frame, became arguably the strongest and most developed superpower in the world. But I, for one, am excited to see what the future holds for Indonesia, because I fully understand that the only reason Indonesia isn't a superpower already is because the US military is still standing on their necks. But when the US empire inevitably falls, nothing will stop Indonesia rising. Anyway, Indonesia Rising is the latest episode of the Triploi podcast, so if you want to hear the long version of this story, check out the Triploi podcast, link in the comments, and that is definitely something to think about.